All right, Savage Avengers number 6. So we have a bromance starting, and we have the proselytizing of Punisher, and Conan learns a new cuss word. Let's dive in. Welcome back to Longbox Diving, where we explore comics and story arcs pulled from the Longbox. Now we're talking about Savage Avengers issue 6. This is written by Dugan, arts by Jacinto, and Bon Villain was doing the colors. Now, we left off of Savage Avengers in issue 5, where they just defeated the Morrow God, which was Colin to being that Colin Gath, who was sacrificing a bunch of warriors, and he had some plan. The plan wasn't finished, but he left. They ran him off, and so the Savage Avengers decided to go ahead and split up. Voodoo followed Colin Gath. Elektra and Venom went off back to wherever they came from. Wolverine, same thing, went back, and then Conan and Punisher decided to drag the bodies of his family in caskets across the Savage Land through Antarctica to the port so he can drag them home. Now, he kind of tied this into being judged by Crom, kind of something that Conan mentioned a little bit. Man, this is comic books. It's crazy. Two guys walking across Savage Lands through Antarctica, dragging the bodies of his family in caskets while fighting monsters using swords and machine guns. Comic books. This is awesome. So now, honestly, this is a good filler issue. It's the issue between story arcs. It has a lot of action, has some character development, and has a nice appearance at the end of the book, which kind of just ties right into what I think would be the next story arc. And it was really well done. So we get Punisher and Conan. They head through the Savage Land, and it kind of goes from Savage Land into a swamp, and they end up fighting all different types of creatures, a big giant snake, etc., etc. And Conan's like, you know what? I will not miss this land. I thought Conan would like it, but apparently he does not like swamps. Then they get attacked by raptors. Now, the dynamics here are really pretty good in the art. You can see the sword flying through the air. It stabs through the raptor's head. You can see the machine gun shooting. You can see all this kind of stuff. And that was very well done. And so you get this feeling of all this action going on. But it's only a couple panels. Then we get this panel where Conan actually picks up the machine gun and just starts, you know, he's looking a little bit like Rambo there, honestly, like old Rambo holding the light machine gun. Looked very, very cool. Then we get this panel where the artist uses letters to make the panels, and then in there is the action, and you see all the creatures and the bullets shooting through everywhere, and you get the letters are like the sound of the machine gun, and within it you see the action, and he like shoots between Punisher's legs. Punisher's like, you know, great stuff. So this is a really interesting way of using comic art with comic lettering and putting something together that you can't get anywhere else. So it was very, very cool, very well done. And then Conan's, he shoots the machine gun, he looks at it and goes, I don't like this thing. This is not good. And then he goes and sees a raptor, and he uses the machine gun as a melee weapon. And bam! Smashes the skull of this raptor. Then of course he breaks the gun. And then, you know, it's kind of funny. He's going to use a gun as a melee weapon. But we get some panels here where they actually start making the skins into clothes, knowing, hey, we're about to cross some ice and snow. We're going to have. So they both look, when they come out into the snow, they both look like medieval, you know, leather, furs, helmets, all that kind of stuff. We get this nice talk between the two of them about Crom. And, you know, Punisher says, I'm doing this to be judged by Crom. And then he introduces Conan to a new cuss word, things of this sort. And it looks like Punisher might actually be converting to worshiping Crom, which doesn't require a lot of worshiping other than killing things. So it'd be like, it's perfect for Punisher, really. I mean, in a sense. So they start off across the snow. We see them kill penguins and cook penguins for dinner. We see them fighting giant frost wolves. Again, lots of action in this thing. Everything looks dynamic. It's all well done. And then we see them walking through the snow, and they hit a snowstorm. Again, art here is pretty good. And I talk about the colors. Now, the colors here really give the idea that it's dark, the snow, that all looks great. But the colors through the rest of the comic just threw me off. It just doesn't work. I would have expected something dark and gritty, But that's not what we got. What we got were these pastels, these pinks and blues, and it just doesn't fit. It doesn't fit the story. It doesn't fit these two characters. It made no sense to me at all, and it actually kind of set me off a little bit from the story. Going, this just doesn't, when you go like this with reading a comic book, that's not a good thing. It just did not. The colors just did not work for me at all. So we actually see they find the ship and they spend some time. They arrive to a port. So we see them arrive at the port, and we see this nice panel where Conan actually kind of is looking around and he sees an airplane flying that way, and over here he sees a pterodactyl. So I mean, it was cool where we're getting this. You got these three different time put together in one spot where we see the future, the past, and the way past. And it was a very, very, very nice panel selection there. We don't have there's no dialogue there, but we get the idea. Here's Conan stepping from this way past world to even now way in the future, and he's not from either. And it just was a very, very well done panel selection. All right, then we get him. He comes up and he actually sees the big ship. Of course, our ships are made of steel, and he is not used to that in any way. And he looks at this huge, giant steel ship, and he's like, "What? Do I wander a world of morons? Who would trust that?" I could see Conan as a character saying something like that, and that really just kind of made me laugh while I was reading that. And Conan learns, he starts using the new cuss word that Punisher has introduced him to, but I don't think it means what he thinks it means, even though he's using it. And then we get a whole page of them just kind of drinking, eating, sleeping, drinking, eating, sleeping, which is okay. It kind of gives the passage of time. They're on a boat. And again here, the colors are just driving me nuts. They're just, but they're on the ship and they're actually getting spied upon. And the guy's relaying information to somebody. Yeah, the two of them are here. I don't see anybody else. They're here. I don't know what's going on there, but it's a nice little touch off of a plot point. Now they land at port, probably somewhere in South America, and they decide to split up. Conan goes his own way, thinking, "Hey, I still have this emblem from Cullen Gath. It could lead me into trouble." And then there's a great scene where a mounted police officer comes and goes, "Inglés, let me see your papers." And Conan's like, "Hey, nice steed." And then later on, we see him standing there waving at Conan, and Conan's on the horse, Punisher's on the boat, and Punisher like waves, and they both kind of, "Hey, see you later," And then Punisher goes into some type of shipping container, where I believe he's hidden his family in there or something like that, or that's where he put him. And so he's there, and you can actually see somebody's watching and talking about Elektra and talking about Wolverine and the others. And as he goes into the shipping container, you can see somebody's looking at it through infrared, so you can see the body heat of the Punisher. So he goes in and he kneels down and he's sitting next to whatever he's doing next to whatever I'm assuming would be the casket. It's his family. And then we get this last panel, and it's Doom standing there and like crackling lightning in his fist. The sky, he's like, again, colors. It was okay here because it was pretty dramatic, but again, the pinks and stuff. But the blue lightning was really cool. He looks pretty evil right there. It looks really good. Now, that's a great way to end the comic. So we had a filler comic between the story arcs, had a lot of dialogue, a lot of stuff, a lot of action, things going on. But then we give a little hint of a story plot, and then we get this last panel. It's like, boom, something's coming. The next story arc, I would assume, has something to do with Doom, and that makes me very, very interested in reading the next one. So I think that was very well done. Now, this comic had lots of good action, lots of good art. The dialogue and some character building were pretty good. We see Conan, looking at the way the world is. We see Punisher going, I need to, help my family. We get this nice touching thing. It's like, do you think it's right for me to be carrying my family, for this long, across the arc? And Conan says something like, you've been carrying your family a lot longer than that. I mean, wow. I mean, Conan just cut right to the heart of that. That is good character dialogue between those two. We see some character development. We see Punisher questioning his motives, his motivations for why he's doing what he's doing. Very well done. I love that. So the only issue I really had with this comic overall was the colors. The palette was wrong for the story. Some pieces were okay, but overall the palette was wrong. just did not fit. But overall, I'll recommend. You really, one of my 3 underrated comics that should definitely be read. That's Invaders, Savage Avengers, and Batman and the Outsiders. You definitely should be reading those 3. It's fantastic. Now, if you enjoyed this review, please like and subscribe. It really does go a long way to help this channel. And we'll see you here next time in the Long Box.